dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice. You better roll them dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right.
Hello, Matt.
It is said never. Okay, sorry. Never gives up her dead. When the skies of November turn gloomy. Sorry, I don't know why that song is stuck.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm working on my karaoke repertoire.
Good, because you'll need it. You'll need it.
Yeah. What's your go-to top
What's
two
my
or top three?
Top 2 or top 3 karaoke's? Well, I have been known to do a stirring rendition of
Bohemian Rhapsody. The whole thing. Everyone gets really pissed.
Never. No, though I do well, my number 1 is Whitesnake. Here I go again on my own. Everybody always loves a good version of Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks. Overdone, but I don't care.
That's a classic.
Nobody can stop me. And if I can get the KJ to actually let me sing it, I can bring down the house with a I would do anything for love, but I won't do that, Matt, by Meatloaf.
In parentheses.
But I won't do that, Matt. Yeah, no, I've got quite the repertoire. Though over the pandemic, I've been trying to, the one thing that I haven't done, not the one thing, but like definitely like the thing that I would like to do that I've just is karaoke. It's like, it just haven't had a chance. The brief window where it seemed vaguely safe to do things came and went without me doing karaoke, and so now
There's a lot of particle spewing with karaoke.
There is. You're in a very close room. You're hurling those particles. Anyway, enough about karaoke. This is
today
Dungeon Master of None.
Yes, I'm Dungeon Master Matt.
I'm Dungeon Master Rob, and Matt, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about money.
Woo!
Is a crime. It's a crime. Share it fairly. Don't take a slice of... Yeah, whatever.
It's gold. Gold.
Yeah.
There's gold in them dar hills, folks, and we're going to be talking about it. Yes, it is the thing that shines glittering gold, trinkets, and baubles, all sorts of good, shiny things. Yeah.
Yeah. All that glitters is gold. Sorry.
We're really on one tonight, folks. But yeah, so we're specifically going to be talking about gold in Dungeons and Dragons, and well, that's because that's largely what this podcast is about, but also because, truthfully, many other role-playing game systems do this a lot better than D&D does, especially our most recent 5th edition. And so we wanted to talk about what to do with the 5th edition gold economy, or lack thereof.
Yeah, I think we thought of this episode because I think there is a lot of worrying, hand-wringing, or like actual frustration at people's tables of like, okay, you get past the first couple levels, players are, getting hoards and rare jewels. They found 17 black onyxes and 3 amethysts in the pocket of a cloud giant.
You dropped a priceless statue in the middle of a dungeon and said, well, I guess if you want to carry it out, you can. And then they decided to carry it out, even though it weighed, they rigged up a pulley system and did the whole thing. And now you're like, well, now you've broken the wealth per level by far, and I guess whatever you want to spend that on, you can. Yeah, this happens a lot.
And as campaigns progress, parties or players accumulate a lot of gold, and dungeon masters aren't always given the best guidance on what you can do with that in an adventure.
The game, this is one of the many valid complaints about 5th edition, is that it does not give, at its core, DMs a lot to work with. It just kind of does not, especially when it comes to magic items and gold, especially. You need you need to do a lot of work yourself and you need some additional resources. And we've talked about magic items before several times because that's another player reward economy problem. But gold is its own thing, and it really needs truthfully it needs addressing. And listen, I'm an experienced DM, but I run into this problem all the time. I don't think any of my D&D games, the players either don't have any idea how much gold they have, or they have it and don't know what to spend it on. And there's rarely a group that gets gold and they're like, oh boy, more gold.
Yeah. Now, before, I know you're ready to be like, all right, I'm done with gold. We're introducing a fiat currency system. That's right. The greenback.
No, Matt, I will not be crucified on a cross of gold. We are moving to only silver here. Yeah.
Lol, they crucified him. Oh, poor William Jennings Bryan. Okay.
A man before his time, or ahead of his time.
He really was ahead of his time. And I mean, you know what? He got a lot of his shit done. It just took until after he died and the New Deal just kind of, they're like, all right, fuck it, whatever. We're just going to do this. So to continue our karaoke thing, how did we get here?
How go by. This is Matt, this is not my beautiful tavern. No. And this is not my fine gilded carriage.
So let's talk about previous editions.
Right.
Okay. In first and second edition, or at least in my advanced Dungeon Master's Guide, I really didn't go back and look at every Dungeon Master's Guide. But in the advanced Dungeon Master's Guide, there's not prices for magic items, right? Mm-hmm. This was not a thing. And then third and fourth edition came along, and they gave every single magic item a cost to create and a cost to buy on the open market. Mm-hmm. And they gave suggested wealth by level tables of your character needs this. And so what was the result is you needed a certain amount of gold and stuff to not suck.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's break this down a little bit, because in the very early editions, you needed gold for a lot of things. You needed gold for everything. You needed gold. Back then, you actually had to buy your spell components, right? If you were a caster, they didn't make it easy for you. If you died, you had to pay somebody to resurrect you, which you still technically do, but it was a lot bigger of a deal. I think you had to spend gold related to experience somehow. Sometimes
collecting gold translated to experience at a 1 for 1.
That's right. And then in 3.5 and to a lesser extent 2, there was a magic item treadmill, basically, that you really needed to spend your gold on.
To the greatest extent at 4. Fourth edition was you absolutely had to have, the game is built and balanced around you having this exact level of magic items.
So 2 through 4, but really by 4, if you did not have a +3 longsword at the
12th
appropriate level, you were fucked. You were mathematically not effective. And there's something to be said for this. It does give you something to do with your gold. It makes you feel like your gold is worthwhile and you need it. But people did not love the loot treadmill, and for obvious reasons. And replacing your +2 sword with the +3 sword is fun and all, but not nearly as fun as actually finding a good magic sword, as we have discussed many, many times. So
the advantage of this system is it's very clear what players want to spend money on. Yeah. And having played these systems 3rd and 4th edition a lot, I can say with extreme confidence, people understand the economy. Players are yes, I want gold and I know what I want to get with it because I want to get this cool magic item and then up my stats in this way, and it all makes sense to me.
So looking back, and I did not make this decision, but the 5th edition designers, I think we can all see that this was an overcorrection, because players being able to go to the book and look at a list of items and say, I want to buy that. There is no shopping list in the player's handbook. There's just like, if you're like, what do you want to spend your money on? They're like, well, what is there? And then
10,000 gold. I guess I'm going to buy 10 spy glasses.
Yeah, you can like roll and like give them a list, but you know, they don't know like what they want because they don't know what's there and they don't know how much it costs. And 5th edition has gone to great lengths to not provide that very like basic thing. So
right, it's a nice overcorrection because I mean, yeah, looking at 3rd and 4th edition, even though everything was really clear to players, it really sucked in that, like, I don't know, magic items did not feel special. And if you want to buy something that did something cool, a portable hole, like boots of flying, though I guess those were always useful. Like, you're like, but I should be upping my strength score. Yeah. Should be getting a belt of constitution.
This was the downside, right? If you wanted to spend your money on anything except stat boosting, then you were, you know, intentionally making yourself weaker. So there are upsides to the old system and there are downsides. I think this wasn't, you know, an overcorrection. I think the instinct was right in 5th edition. So that's how it worked in previous editions.
Right. And now that we're in 5th edition, I think magic items feel different. They feel like more like they did in earlier editions.
They did. And there's far fewer just stat sticks and a lot more unique magic items, and when they appear they feel more impactful. But when they're not being doled out in a horde or as a quest reward or taken from the body of a foe, you know, players still want to be able to buy magical things that are of value, and even in a low magic campaign there's something for them to buy, but it's hard for them to find, and it's incumbent on you as the DM to make a list and say, here's a store and here's what they've got, which is a bunch of extra work, and also it's not really made easy for you as the DM.
Yeah, I feel like where 5th edition, the thing that fucks up, because I actually do like the idea that like a +1 sword is super useful and kind of fun and rare, or that most magic items are even not that and are also like just having 2 magic items makes you a completely different character and expands your abilities to interact with the world in lots of fun ways. The thing that just really sucks is that if you want to like in any way deviate from that, is that you're really lacking the tools as are laid out in the like DMG to like, oh, I do want to have my players be able to buy some items. What we're given is it doesn't really work. And there's also, and this is the other thing we're going to talk about, not a lot of advice on what to do with gold, right? Which is something that, while we went back to kind of this earlier system, kind of got dropped, right? Because looking back at my advanced Dungeon Master's Guide, there's plenty of advice on other things you can do with gold.
Yep. And it used to be that, again, in very early editions, it was understood that you would spend that gold on buying a stronghold and, you know, gathering an army of followers or whatever, which you can still technically do in 5th edition. But the rules are just not, the framework is not there. So before we go into some specifics about what to do and about other things that are available for 5th edition, I do want to mention that some other games, this is not a shared problem. So
right, it's not universal. Other games universal don't have this problem.
In fact, a game like Shadowrun or Cyberpunk, money, Nuyen, or whatever it is in Cyberpunk, you know, future money, is extremely useful, and you get excited.
Bitcoin.
And there's always something to spend it on. Like you can really like never have too much, and you have to spend it on your living expenses. You have to buy new ammo. You have to like repair things and get patched up. And it's not like a super complicated economy, but it feels very rewarding to get paid. And
it really does. You're like, oh, there's always like better gear you can buy, right? Without it feeling like because both of these games are classless games without levels, right? It doesn't feel like a gear treadmill, right?
Right.
And of course, like, I mean, obviously this is set in the future where like it's in a even more dystopian capitalist economy. And of course, everything can be bought for money. And like when you get shot, you're like, I got to go to the hospital, and that costs money, you know.
It does make a bit more sense. It does work a little bit better, but it's also just, it's striking to me how different it feels to give players cash in like Shadowrun compared to giving it to them in D&D. You know, none of my Shadowrun players in any game I've ever run has had any trouble telling me exactly how much new yen they have. Like they
Right.
it's like written at the top of their sheet. They know exactly how much money they have to spend
The
on
most
whatever.
important number, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's like, and they will never have any trouble telling you what they might want to use
That's
that
right.
for.
And
this isn't the only solution, too. Lots of other role-playing games have even more abstracted wealth, right? It's like, oh, you have level 3 wealth. This means you can do X, Y, and Z in these situations. That means, oh, you can get a car if you need one. If you have 1 wealth, that means you can only afford a bike, right? And
this is how Burning Wheel does it, and it's, to me, sometimes too abstracted, but it also, boy, it saves you a lot of trouble. I mean, here's the core problem to me with gold in general, currency, is that money is fake, but also more importantly is that it's bookkeeping, right? And nobody wants
money
to play.
Is just exchange value, right? It has no use value.
That's
right.
right.
Get
That's
a little
exactly right.
Marxy and Marxist
That's right.
here.
That's right. That's right. There's no inherent value, right? But specifically, like, it's accounting, right? Like, nobody wants to play fantasy accountant. Nobody wants to be like doing tallies on their. Well, Matt wants to play fantasy accountant. I kind of want to play fantasy accountant, but most people want to play.
Most people don't.
Something else. So I don't like making my players do a lot of bookkeeping about anything. I don't make them keep track of encumbrance or ammunition or whatever, because I'm a very lenient DM. You can do that if you want to. But similarly, I don't like to really like overburden them with too much gold bookkeeping, but that in of itself, I think, is part of the problem, right? Players aren't super excited about gold because it's just a more number to deal with. But if it were perhaps more useful and more exciting, it wouldn't be just like another number to keep track of.
Right. And I think here's our thesis, because Rob is absolutely right. In a long campaign, in the default way of playing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, with just what you're given on a busy night, from the DMG, you haven't had time to do any extra work. Rob is absolutely right. Gold is just like an extra like bookkeeping thing. But, and maybe it's just because I just ran a new group, first-time players this week, when they discover a bag full of 100 gold after they just made characters, and they ran out of money, and they couldn't buy 3 spears, and they had to like say, oh, I can only buy 2 spears, and they were sad. Or they're like, I want to buy some acid. Acid sounds cool, right? And their eyes light up when they get that first bag of 100 gold, and they're splitting it 6 ways, and they figured out that 100 is not divisible by 6, and they got into an argument about it, but they were really excited about it. Something is lost, right? That's our thesis, right? Is that actually getting money in game, in fantasy make-believe land, is cool.
It's fun.
And that
everyone likes it.
Everyone likes it. We as dungeon masters, or probably more specifically, we are being let down by the system here, are doing something wrong, where by level 5 to 10 or something, no one gives a shit anymore.
Right. And this is like sort of like the basic thesis of Dungeons or the basic like gameplay reward mechanic of D&D is you can receive experience, gold, items, boons, right? Like, this is one of the 3 or 4 things that you can receive as a reward. Like, at its core, D&D is a looter shooter, right? It's, kick down door, get stuff. Like, we have made it more complicated, but the fundamental mechanic is kill bad guy, get stuff, right?
And the thing is, whenever you add something more to it, right? If you play it without hardly any combat and other things, getting rewards where your character is better at the things they want to be good at is great. And the thing is, magic items or like boons, right? The things that are like, oh, you have an inherent new magical ability or whatever. Those work, right?
Right.
And no one's complaining about the fact that the Frost brand isn't good.
Right.
Or no one's complaining about the boon of the chained devil or something that lets them teleport around in a cloud of sulfur isn't good. People love that shit. People are complaining about gold. And it's our job to fix it. So let's fix it.
Right. And there are problems with magic items. Like we've talked about, we have episodes on them. But people still get excited about them. Right. They may forget they have them and, but they're like, oh boy, I got a, magical what's it. I had a player remember that they had a swan boat that they'd been carrying around for, I'm pretty sure, like since level 1 that they finally got to use. But hey, I mean, that's the thing is like, no one's ever like, this sucks, I'm never going to use a magical item. But yeah, we got to fix gold. So I do want to bring up, and this is so frustrating to me because as I was doing research to this, I was reminded that in Xanathar's guide, there is a section.
Got it right here, page 133. This is Price's second edition in the Dungeon Master's Guide on page 135. There is a suggested price range by rarity: common, uncommon, rare, very rare, legendary. So this is like their second attempt to give a rough price for things. And Xanathar's adds a specific price for each one and says half the value if it's a consumable, like a potion.
Right. Anyway, there is the section in the DMG, but it's, a tiny little table, and I like the Xanathar's better. It's still like, I think part of what we'll say is that these numbers are not good or accurate or valuable, and this is an incomplete. But yeah, the Xanathar section expands it into enough to give you to work with as a DM, but it's still like very much incomplete. And
right. Here's an example, right? A brooch of shielding is uncommon, and therefore, according to Xanathar's, costs 400 gold.
Yes.
Brooch of shielding makes you have resistance to force damage, a thing that almost nothing does in the game. For that same 400 gold, and like for less than the price of like full plate armor or even maybe half plate armor, you can buy, according to Xanathar's stupid guidelines, winged boots, right? Boots that let you fly for like a long time per day, which are like always useful and amazing, right?
Yep.
So like these prices make no sense. They're like trying to follow either the prices on 135 of the DMG or 133 of Xanathar's. Down that road lies madness. Don't do it.
Don't try to. Yeah, you really have to. You really have to just do it yourself. You have to start from scratch because the uncommon, common, rare, very rare. This system, again, I understand why they made this design choice in 5th edition. It does not work.
The range of things is just too crazy.
Yeah.
And the other frustrating thing about not having prices per magic item is, at least in 3rd and 4th edition, while they give you tables for how much gold you should get per encounter, like what I often did as a dungeon master is I said, okay, I know my players want to buy some magic items. I can see how much those magic items cost, and then I can adjust my like loot rewards, accordingly. I'm like, oh, they're getting enough money. Like they're able to buy some of what they want. Perfect. Or, oh no, none of them can buy anything. I haven't given enough gold. Right. So I think we've got to answer a couple of questions, right? Mm-hmm. Because this is more than just magic items, right? But magic items are a big part. We got to start with basically how much money do you give players? When do you give players money and gold? And then like how can you let them spend it on magic items? And of course, we're going to talk about a bunch of other.
Well, Matt, I think we have to go even further back than that. So bear with me. So the price of a bolt of linen is no. I'm just kidding.
No,
no, you're
stop
exactly
talking about coats. Oh no,
you're right. You're right.
Gonna drop a magic item called the coat of use value.
That's right.
Into my game.
That's right. No, but I mean, it's so okay. So what's the problem is that after a certain point, currency has little value, if any, to players. So how do we make it? How do we make it have value again?
Okay. Well,
right?
So I mean, the question is like, I think a lot of dungeon masters look at that and they're like, well, if currency has little value because my players can't find anything to spend it on it, I'm giving them too much gold. And so they're like, oh, I'll just not give gold as a reward for hardly anything. Oh, you slayed a dragon? Someone gives you 20 gold for that or something like that.
Right.
I think that's the wrong way to go. I think Dungeons & Dragons works best in the sort of its default mythos, right? You can always do something different when it's like, oh, when I'm a 14th level character, I'm going to be able to pull in 10,000 gold if I need to, right?
Yes. Right. So, oh gosh, I mean,
the tables in the DMG sort of support that. Like, I mean, you know, on the treasure hoard 11 through 12, like you could expect to get 10,000 gold from a treasure hoard, right? From one encounter, right? Maybe not one encounter, but a big important encounter.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to operate, I think, from the default is that players are going to get increasing amounts of gold as they level.
Right. And I looked up a bunch of different. There is no wealth per level chart in 5th edition, which is something that previous editions had. And again, I understand why 5th edition decided not to do this, but it is that causes problems in and of itself. It's a choice. So, and I've seen wildly different calculations of how much gold your players can or might have at level whatever, but the Matt is right that the assumption is that they will gain substantial, perhaps even exponential amounts of gold as they level and
But this isn't so much as a problem as we go back to what old Carl said in that money only has value in exchange.
Exactly.
So that's okay. So we shouldn't, and especially with 5th edition where the game sort of assumes that maybe players have no magic items by the end so that if they do, it's just an extra bonus.
Right.
So it's fine. You don't have to worry about someone not being good at the game for not having a magic item.
So actually, let's get more specific. So because like Matt said, at first level, players are super excited and they will haggle with the bartender over the cost of dinner. You know, they want to hang on to every copper shilling that they've got.
They will steal an old nag from the general store rather than pay 3 silver for that horse.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem is that by probably 3rd level, maybe even sooner, gold, that level of like attachment to their gold is gone. They have enough to throw a gold piece to every dancer and serving wench that they come across and never miss it. They can afford the finest inn in every town they come to, and they can buy any consumables they might want because there really aren't that many to spend their gold on, and that's when it starts to break down.
Here are the tiers, right? Tier 1 is like, shit, the starting gold is not enough. I want more. Though I would even say the starting gold is pretty generous in 5th edition.
It is. The thing is, like, this is where it matches most editions. Like, you can't buy plate mail. You can't buy half plate or even split mail, depending on.
So that's tier 0 is like there's
0.
Basic equipment that you still want.
Yeah.
By like tier 1 is where like I've gotten everything from that equipment chapter that I could want. Maybe I could use a few more alchemist fires or a couple other of these expensive things, and that's the next tier. The next tier is like assuming you're going with the defaults of that you can buy healing potions and 1st level scrolls. Like tier 2 is like, all right, money is not a problem now for buying healing potions and 1st level scrolls and that kind of stuff. And then that's where it falls apart because it all kind of works up until that point, in my opinion. But it's after tier 2 into, I guess we could call it tier 3, where like dungeon masters and players run into trouble because the gold continues to rise at a very steep curve, and then now all of a sudden there's nothing to spend it on. So let's talk about that. Money is exchange value. What, as a DM, should you be letting your players do with money?
I have my own opinions about this. So let me tell you from like a game player's perspective and from a DM's perspective what I like spending money on and what I think is good, but may not be a ultimate solution for this, or one of many things. Sorry, there are a lot of answers to this question. We're going to be going over a lot of them, but one thing that I wish worked better in D&D and that I wish were more available and that players wanted to spend money on was, I guess, finite goods or consumables of some sort. And there, of course, are potions and whatnot in D&D, and there's scrolls, but players tend not to be super excited about them, and they tend not to use them. And so
you will run into smart players, like a smart spellcaster who realizes that if your dungeon master lets you buy scrolls, there's a certain number of spells, and it turns out if you're a wizard, it's like half of them that you will only ever need to cast once.
One time, right.
And having a scroll for that and having your regular spells for other things is very nice.
Yes, and I have found that highly motivated and informed players do find a use for their gold a lot, but you shouldn't have to be a system master to find something to spend your money on. So
right.
I also, I don't ever want anyone to feel like they have to spend money on something, but magical ammunition can be very exciting and can be a good sort of money sink, and certain potions, if they were a little bit more interesting and effective, could be. One thing I have tried in my games, and one thing that I sometimes think about doing more of to deal with this gold problem, is to make consumables more available and more attractive, to add more potions, scrolls, magical trinkets, gizmos, items, ammunition, and put them in front of the players and also make them appealing. Pathfinder 2nd edition does a good job of this. It has a lot of consumables, and they're valuable, and they're sort of like built into the item economy. It could not be more different than 5th edition in just about every other way, but I like this part of the sort of, there's something for players to spend their gold on. They're like, oh, I want that. What's it? Because it, provides a very clear benefit, and I know exactly what it's for.
Yeah, I think making potions and scrolls more available basically solves the immediate problem of what happens when you get into tier 3, right? Is you add more of what was going on in tier 2. And that's super fun, especially because potions can be used by anyone, right? And scrolls can be used by most character classes. So that's point 1 of what you should have put in front of your players to have them spend money on. I would say point 2, this comes into this kind of tier 2. So I'm saying like players are maybe like 4th, 5th, 6th level, is you should let them spend money on skill and language training, right?
Ooh,
for
yes.
somewhere between and tool training. Probably tool more than skill, but I would allow skill too.
Yes. I agree.
Like 200 gold for like in a couple months for language, 500 for tool sets, maybe several thousand for a skill. Like, let players expand their character, because 5th edition doesn't really let you do that otherwise. And you don't need at least in my opinion, I don't think you need complicated rules for this, right? I think you pay someone and they teach you. This happens during downtime.
There's some downtime rules in Xanathars, which you can follow as little or as much as you want. They're a good framework for thinking about it. I agree with Matt. I think that character training and even character retraining are a great thing to let your players spend money on. Let
Proficiency
them know
with weapons.
Yep.
You want to be a wizard that is okay with a longsword? That's fine. It's not going to break the game. It doesn't matter at all.
Especially by like 4th or 5th level, like you could have gotten that. That's way less powerful than any number of other things you can get. Yeah. Let a wizard train with a sword. Let a fighter, learn how to use thieves' tools. Like it's not game breaking.
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, it's more game interesting if it's like, as long as it's player driven. It's like, man, because nothing's more frustrating than a player than be like, man, I wish I could have spoke Goblin. Like, I didn't know that would be useful, right? And you're like, okay, well, later there's a sage in the city, a Goblin sage that will teach you their language. Perfect, right?
Right.
So that's
you can
that's
also
thing
expand
number 2.
this to all sorts of things.
Right.
Downtime activities or character training are a great, and I think, like Matt, very underutilized aspect of D&D. Like for some reason it's just not easy, or it hasn't always been a part of the game to like let your players improve characters through aside from the mechanism of leveling up, which I think adding a gold dimension to that is terrific. I think this is a really good use.
Well, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. Fed to the rules and I hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets smart but your head gets dumb. So much to do, so much to see. So what's wrong with taking the back streets? You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid.
Okay, let's not yet to magic items. What's thing number 3 that players could spend their gold on? Do you want me to give it, or shall
I've got a thing number 3. Let me tell me that this is the same as your thing number 3. And this is the one that I think most people will give as an example or as advice when you're like, my players don't know what to spend their gold on, is a property, is a tavern or a castle or a farmstead or even a ship,
land. Yes, they're not making any more of it.
They're not
unless you can create demiplane, and then of course, well, they are.
And this is a good solution if your players are interested and motivated in it. They can spend their gold on buying improvements or upgrades or hiring people or decking out their wherever with all kinds of fancy nonsense. And this is built into some campaign modules in a very rewarding way.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with this is that this is sort of a side game mechanic that your players have to want to care about and have to be invested in. I find that this works really well in a ship-based campaign. If you're like, you need 10,000 gold to buy better cannons, they'll be like, hell yeah, we are going to save 10,000 gold to buy better cannons. That's no problem. It's less compelling, I've found, if there's, if it's like we have an inn or a castle that we're,
unless it's a interplanar inn that can warp around like Baba Yaga's dancing hut or something like that.
Yes.
Of course, that's going to cost you if you want that feature.
That's expensive. That's not cheap.
Right.
Interplanar travel's not cheap.
In 1st and 2nd edition, it is sort of assumed that once players are getting out of what I'm calling money tier 3, right, that they are investing in changing the world, remaking the face of the world, by sort of the default assumption is like a wizard builds a tower and goes slightly insane and starts researching stuff, and everyone else conquers a fiefdom, right? Builds a castle and attracts serfs and stuff.
It's the Narnia model, right? Like once you've beat the the witch, you become king, and then you are king, and then you have to like do king things, right? Like you get once you're enough of a hero, you just become ruler of the land, and you have to do
Conan the Conqueror, right?
That's
you
right.
know,
That's
he
right.
just gets bored and drunk. Now, okay, let's update this to sort of the modern D&D sensibilities that you and I enjoy more, right?
Yes.
Which is, I think this translates roughly pretty well, right? Okay, not all campaigns are about, you know, inter-kingdom politics and the evil empire that was going to conquer all of us, right? If your campaign's about something different, find the property that find the capital that fits your cane, right? Is it social capital in that your players are creating a traveling theater company or an interplanar inn or a, you know, magical postal service or something? Like, this is the point where you need to ask your players what they want to do, right?
I had a player in one of my Pathfinder games get really excited about setting up a network of independent free clinics in the city. He just wanted to, you know, finance a bunch of healing huts on every corner in this, you know, post or pre-industrial, you know, wasteland, and that was what he liked to spend his money on. That was his, you know,
hell yes, Chairman Hampton, the cleric.
That's right. This is a good point. Like, if you have like a traditional kingdom building campaign, this is actually pretty easy. Kingmaker is, for a reason, like one of
Pathfinder Adventure Path,
one of the best. And it's because if you want to play a game where you build a kingdom, the rules are there, the campaign is there. It's really, really good. They have a lot of, and
it's a little hard because you're always making the kind of zero sum a decision of like, do I want to spend gold upping my character's hit points, or like getting our kingdom like a new mercenary force, right? Or a dock so we can ship. Can we bilge the harbor so we can ship better goods?
Am I going to build a fence, or I'm going to build walls for my, you know, outlying villages, or am I going to buy a shiny new sword? Yeah, and I think
which is great. Actually, I think I kind of love that, and it works just fine with 5th edition because it's always like the advisors to your kingdom or whatever are like, you know, we really could have used a road or a bridge over that river, but apparently you bought something called the Amulet of Health and a Ring of Water Walking, which I guess lets one person walk across the river. Anyway, the isolated villages are getting raided because they can't get back over the bridge. Okay, cool. Good meeting. Yeah. Good cabinet meeting, everyone.
Yeah. So I think this is a great model for it. But like Matt said, if you're not playing a traditional kingdom conquest game, then your players don't want to spend their money on building kingdom stuff. So you have to find like what's the exchange value? What's the use value, right? What can that gold buy that they are interested in? And maybe that's influence. Maybe that's, this is a good time to bring in kingdoms and warfare, which we have discussed previously. This is a Matt Colville MCDM. Sorry.
Right. It's the follow-up to Strongholds and Followers by MCDM Productions, who also makes the fine Arcadia magazine, which I'm going to bring up in a later point. And Strongholds and Followers has rules for building like keeps of many different types. And Kingdoms and Warfare has then further rules for kind of doing the politics of said kingdoms and warfare of said kingdoms.
Right. And there's not a ton of like direct rules in here, but it's very easy to see. I mean, there are a ton of direct rules, but not direct rules for like gold being used for specific things. But it's very easy to see how gold could be used it has a lot of rules for building organizations, right? So if your players were more interested in creating an adventuring guild, or if they wanted to establish their own, counter Harper's secret society or something like that, there's great rules for that. And there's a lot of things that you could throw money at if that's what they want to do.
I think we're getting to like a bigger idea here, but we need to add in two important caveats that are big things, big mistakes you can make as a dungeon master, which is one, we have to assume that you are in some kind of dialogue with your players about what they want to do, right? Like, hey, maybe our campaign's completely open-ended. Maybe it has one specific goal. We need to talk about what you want to do with all this money in order to accomplish that goal. Is it creating a secret society, building a magical flying ship, or building a castle and creating your own kingdom? All of them are going to get you closer to accomplishing this campaign goal. What is it you want to do? And then the second part of that is you have to build time in the game and opportunities for players to spend the money and do those things.
Right. And so I think this is one of the core problems when discussing this, which is that in the written campaigns, they do not allow for this. And they all have problems with gold economy, magic item economy. So I guess we're sort of assuming...
The big one, right, is time, right?
Time
is money,
right,
Rob.
Because there's
it's
really not, again, in most campaigns, there's not time built into them. You can have a little bit of downtime, but you really can't do a whole lot. They're all sort of operating with some sort of ticking clock.
Right. And ticking clocks are fine, but they basically fuck up this one aspect of spending gold.
Yes. So that is a challenge. And then for that, you would want to, again, if you were going to even try, introduce more consumables, find some way to increase the challenge and encourage them to spend more gold on something like that. But Matt is right that this assumes that you are talking to your players about what they want to do and giving them an opportunity to do it, and that they have time to do it.
Digging for gold in my neighborhood, where all the old buildings stood, and they keep digging it down and down, so that the cars can live underground. They're swinging over a wrecking ball through these laughing plaster walls, just letting all the shadows free. The ones I wish still followed me, followed me, followed me. Please don't change.
All right, I have 3 more things you can spend gold on. A couple of them are small, but
Okay.
maybe you'll have comments on them.
Okay.
The first, and I mean, this is definitely in the high levels. Like, I usually think about these things when my campaign's at like 10th level or higher. Researching new stuff, right? And this applies specifically to spellcasting characters, right? Researching new spells, or like spells that are in the book they haven't encountered yet. You can just learn those if you spend money, or creating magic items of their own, right? There's no reason why players shouldn't be able to spend gold to be able to do this. And if your player is, or if a character is not a spellcaster, perhaps it's spending the gold to learn a new maneuver or trick or something like that in the same kind of way. You shouldn't exclude the martial characters.
This is exactly what I had down to. At a certain point, if your players are like, and there have been rules for this, and I think there are even some vague rules in 5th edition, but if they want to create a new spell, if they want to design and commission a magic item, make sure that it sort of fits within the framework and that it's not, broken, and they're paying appropriately for it. But that's a great thing for them to spend money on, and just sort of like a natural use of it. I think that is a higher level concern, but it's also, it makes sense for it to be potentially very expensive and something that they would need to spend a lot of money on.
Yeah. Next, I have people, right? And now that we have Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, there are rules for sidekicks, but not just like people to follow you around on adventures, people to do things for you off camera. As you can tell, we're building towards one big thing to spend money on, but I think some people can guess up. But it could be hirelings. It could be a mercenary army, right? It could be just people, right? I think my players usually, if they spend money on quote-unquote people, it's buying a griffin egg from a shady dealer in the marketplace, or like buying, a baby Pegasus or something like that. Like, let your players buy cool mounts and cool things and stuff.
That stuff is
animals.
Right. That can get complicated, but especially once they get to that tier 2 of wealth. If they want to buy a Griffin or a Pegasus, that's expensive, but I don't know. Assuming your campaign is vaguely magical, they can buy it.
Why not?
Let them seek out a fancy exotic animals merchant who has Pegasuses.
Now, you can definitely have players like spend money or take money from players because of their vices or taxes, or just let them have fun with money.
There are rules for carousing in Xanathars. That's another downtime activity. I mean, this depends on your group. Like, your group may not have trouble spending money. You can always have fun being like, we go to a tavern, I throw 50 gold at, and buy everyone a drink. Like, that's fun too.
Gonna fucking gamble, right?
Right.
It's fun. I mean,
there's a high stakes nobility, like Le Chiffre is holding a 3-dragon anti-game, your rogue needs 1,000 gold stake to get close to him. I mean, there's lots you can do just for fun. But
having the fantasy of D&D, like not killing a dragon, but being able to go to a bar and buy every run a round of vodka sounds nice.
That's right. A mead for everybody.
Mead for everyone. Okay, I think we're getting to the main point, or one of the, my overall thing is, money should be used at high levels or mid to high levels when players have a lot of it to further the plot.
Right.
Players should be able to spend money to solve problems, right? Because there's if you play your campaign like Rob and I play ours, we usually give our players more problems than they have time, both in character and out of character, to deal with. And one of the ways they can solve some of those other problems is throwing money at them.
Paying someone else to do it for you. Listen,
Exactly.
this is what adulthood is you work until you suddenly have enough money to pay somebody else to do the things you don't have time to do because you spend all your fucking time working. That's what being an adult is.
It all makes sense. I mean, I don't have time to prove it to you, but it definitely makes sense.
This is a good system. It's a good system. No, this is exactly right. And you could imagine, instead of the tiers we've described, that there's really just 2 tiers, right?
It's really just this one.
There's the tier where your players are spending gold to make themselves more powerful, right? And then there's the tier where they are using gold to advance the plot or to solve plot problems, right? That's
at
the
that
real,
point they're not really tiers, they're more just different options. But
Yeah.
I mean, that would be pedantic of me to bring that up.
Suppose they can do both at the same time.
Yeah, they can do both at the same time. Right. I mean, so examples of this, you just pay off the nobleman that was harassing, the peasants. You just buy a band of mercenaries to go deal with.
Or someone says, "Oh, there's a cave full of goblins and they're haranguing this town," and you're like, "I don't have time for that. I'm 12th level. Here, I'm going to pay a band of level 1 adventurers to go clean out that goblin cave." And you know what game did this really well? I don't know how many other people played this, but Neverwinter Nights 2 had a sort of a big you owned a castle subplot, and at some point multiple adventuring parties would come and be like, we're adventurers, we love you, we think you're so cool. And then
you're our heroes.
Depending on how well you managed it, they would either get themselves all killed or become decent adventurers in and of themselves. I think this is a great thing for high level players to do.
Right. And obviously, I think this works best if you follow that other advice of let your players buy and build a thing, whether it's a keep or a secret organization or a traveling interdimensional theater improv troupe that really no one actually wants to go to, but you want to be supportive of your player characters, so you show up to it anyway, right? Whatever it is, right? That itself usually, as the poet said, mo money, mo problems.
That's right.
I fucked that up.
That's right. Well, we know what you meant.
But yeah, you know what I meant, right? It's you can then spend more money to do things. But it's
That's right.
Okay, And it can be a magical solution too, right? I mean, the sky's the limit here, right? Let your players spend money to help them solve whatever campaign challenges that they have set for themselves or that you have given them as a DM.
And these are
they will feel good about it.
They will feel good.
They
And these are all really good suggestions, and I've used some or all of these at one point. I'm going to just be a little bit of a downer here and say that the problem...
Right, we got to come back to the magic item problem.
Well...
Right? Oh, okay.
Well, yes, but also...
another thing.
Another thing is that these are all good and interesting, but this all requires some additional work from you as the DM.
Yes.
You are not really given any tools for this. There are actually some pretty cool third-party supplements you can just grab, but that's, another thing. But you are going to have to set this up yourself. 5th edition doesn't make this easy for you. And that's frustrating for me personally. This is one of the parts of the game that I end up being most annoyed by. But next time I run a 5th edition game, I assure you I'm going to put a lot of upfront effort into thinking about what my players can buy and putting it in front of them. Because if you don't, we run into the problem that we described. So what's the other big problem, Matt?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, we've concluded this. Like, let your players spend money to be crazy powerful or to solve problems. Like 5e, when players become high level, they're basically superheroes. So do that. Let them build the Avengers Mansion. Let them build the Xavier School for gifted youngsters. Let them build a giant flying aircraft carrier. Why not, right? Let them build a portal network so they can travel around the world in an instant. Like, whatever. Cool. The other big problem, though, is players are selfish, right? The game encourages them to be selfish. I'm not saying like people are selfish. Player characters are selfish because you're sitting there for 3 hours a week looking at your character, hoping that he or she or they do not die, and you want to make them better and not die, and you want to impress everyone. So they want to spend money on themselves. Magic items. Players should be able to buy magic items in some form or another. It doesn't work for every campaign in every world, but here's a solution I have, and I don't know if you've seen this from the early days of 5th edition, from the venerable giant in the playground forums.
Ooh.
A nice list of sane magic item prices.
I remember this.
Right, so this is like from 2015.
I haven't seen
there's
this
the link.
in forever.
We'll include the link, I think, into the show because I think this is pretty good.
Oh man, how did I ever let this go? I remember this. This is actually a very somebody put a lot of effort into this.
Someone put a lot of effort into this in like the first 3 months after 5th edition came out because people recognized this problem. Plus, there was a lot of holdover from 3rd and 4th edition of this way of thinking. Yeah. And it's a list of every magic item in the Dungeon Master's Guide with like prices that make a little more sense where, boots or winged boots are not the same price as like a potion of jump or whatever.
Right. I remember this. This is so, I mean, I don't think anyone has done better than this, but it just, divides them into, just like much better item tiers and pricing tiers, not based on rarity. It's just substantially better. Yeah.
Right. It's not based on rarity. It's based on like how useful it is as the sort of consensus dungeon master would judge it, which is a pretty good way to price things, honestly.
It's I don't agree with everything, but it's mostly correct. There's a whole section on game-changing items that are appropriately priced, just regardless of.
I was thinking of doing something like this, but I realized there's no way I could really do any better than this. It would just be a different version.
This is really funny.
Not worth it.
I made this mistake because I told my players in another campaign that they could have any rare item that they wanted. And one of my players...
Oh, you fool.
Here's the thing.
Rob has a little conical hat
I'm wearing a little
head.
dunce cap right now.
On the stool.
Here's the thing. If you say that to your players, you should be sure that your players are not going to abuse their privileges. And my mistake was assuming
Why wouldn't they?
That they were not... Well,
I would.
So one of my players chose Darren's Instant Fortress, which is a little box that you throw, and it creates a 20-foot castle in the middle of wherever you throw it. This is appropriately
Darren's instant problem solver. Honestly, it'll get everything.
It was hugely annoying and very difficult for me to run as a DM because I was like, I don't know what would happen if you threw that fortress in the middle of this particular spot, and so I'm gonna have to, or you've completely invalidated my boss encounter. Anyway, so intelligently, this person who put this together has priced it at 75,000 gold pieces, which is how it should be.
That's absolutely what it is worth. It's a mobile keep. Yeah. It is worth 75,000 gold. A winged fan's only worth 1,500.
Yeah.
Right? Because it creates wind occasionally.
Yes.
And that's useful, but not as useful as a castle that you can make appear.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is a great starting point for fixing the magic item problem.
Right. I do have to say, I was very surprised and thankful because I was just reading James over at MCDM Productions just sent us a copy of Arcadia Magazine number 8, which has, and I have to recommend this, a fun little chapter on a cool magic item shop that has some interplanar connections and has a nice little pricing system where it goes with common, uncommon, rare, very rare, all those types of things, but it lets you as a DM make an instant judgment call. Is this grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3? And then you can basically, that fixes most of the problems with the pricing, as long as you can have like 3 different labels. Not all of them. And I would say if your players get to high level, if they're movers and shakers in the world, they should absolutely be able to buy from a teleporting magic bazaar or an interplanar magic creature that wants to sell them. Maybe not everything, right? You don't have to let them buy everything, but most of the things are just fine for players to buy, especially if you limit it by like, okay, everyone only gets 2. Right, or everyone only gets 1. It's fine. If you give them same prices, letting players buy magic items is totally okay.
So I guess that's sort of the takeaway here, is that there are tools. There are a lot of good third-party resources that have done a lot of good work here. You are going to have to do a little legwork here. And it's up to you whether or not you think this is important. Some of my campaigns have kind of just ignored gold entirely, especially if I don't think they're going to like run very long by the time they have what they need and we're reaching the final point. Don't make them keep track of their gold all that much if they're not that excited about it. But I would like to do better about this. And there's
the thing. After our hour of talk about the political economy of 5th edition, it is really just fine to ignore this after a certain point, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about this because it can be better and it can add something to your campaign. If it didn't add something to your campaign, we wouldn't care, but it does. But again, you don't have to add everything to your campaign.
And it's because I'm like a big numbers dork, and I like it. I find it like pleasant and enjoyable when there's a compelling economy, right? There's something for me to spend my gold on or something for my players to spend my gold on. Again, this is why I like Shadowrun. I find the gameplay loop to be very satisfying in this regard, but there are other things to enjoy about D&D. You don't need this if your players aren't excited about it.
For me, it's like part of the D&D as a setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about maybe doing a whole episode on this as the default assumptions of Dungeons and Dragons, right. But like, for me, if I get to 10th level and I don't have at least like 3 cool magic items, like I don't feel like I'm playing D&D. Like there are plenty of other games where you don't get magic items. Yeah.
You know?
And okay, again, that's not for everyone. You can certainly have a D&D campaign where no one gets a magic item, but I don't think that's 99% of players' preferences. Like it's kind of expected, right? And being able to choose one and using gold as a tool to choose that is I think important, right?
Yeah. So, any final thoughts on gold? I think we've said a lot about it.
It's in them hills.
Them hills, folks. Yeah.
Let players spend their gold to make more gold. Let them become little petty capitalists. Let them mine mine hills for platinum. Let them
let them
control
set up shop.
the wharfs at
let them
Waterdeep.
create a diamond dust factory. You know.
Yes. Oh yeah. Just kill them a bunch, and then they'll spend all their gold on diamond dust.
Yeah.
Another bad advice.
That's another thing that we didn't mention. Spending gold on is just make a really deadly campaign, so they have to spend a lot of money on resurrections.
No, let them purchase a merchant fleet and then be filled with Shakespearean despair when they find that it was shipwrecked and they were ruined financially.
Yes, that's right.
No.
Allow them to invest in various dodgy schemes with promises of great rewards, and then they can receive bad news from their butler that says, the railroads you financed in Canada have gone under, and now your family is ruined.
Yeah, definitely let them buy a butler. But yes, let them buy shares in a joint stock venture to colonize the Plane of Fire. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
All our colonists burned. The colony is a failure. Damn, who could have foreseen this?
The entire nation has, put its wealth into this very, very poorly thought out scheme. And now we're all, So
that's tier 1. Tier 2 is where you let your players come up with either A, the pyramid scheme, or B, the obviously fraudulent venture to make money. Let them spend their money to rip off the populace of an entire nation.
You got to spend money.
Selling snake oil.
Spend money to make
basilisk
money.
oil. It's basilisk oil. It will cure your stone gut or whatever.
All right.
Let them harvest coca leaves. Let them become drug dealers. Let them become Pablo Escobar. Use their money and then sick the fantasy DEA/CIA after them.
Absolutely.
Or better yet, they've been funneling, magic opium back from distant lands, and they find out, actually, the fantasy CIA wants to work with them instead.
Even better. Okay. So we got a lot of ideas. If you've got other ideas or suggestions, please write us at dmofnone@gmail.com. Add us on Twitter at dmofnone. Find us on Patreon if you like at patreon.com/dungeonmasterofnone. Join our Discord, which we'll have a link to in the show notes. Anything else, Matt?
Money, get away. Get a good job.
Come do karaoke with us.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep rolling them dice.
That digs on me. Now I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Now I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Get down, girl, gon' head, get down. Get down, girl, gon' head, get down. Get down, girl, gon' head, get down. Get down, girl, gon' head. Cutie the bomb, met her at a beauty salon with a baby Louis Vuitton under her underarm. She said, I could tell you rock, I could tell by your charm. Far as girls, you gotta fly.